Hey, welcome back, everybody. Time for another episode of Living Hope, a weekly journey designed to provide hope, inspiration, and education for those living with pancreatic cancer, sharing the real-life stories of those really affected by this deadly disease and how they all deal with it on a daily basis. With a woman she knows a little bit about this journey here, 20-some years and counting here, and her journey with this friend.
Well, I'm not sure I'd call it a friend, but okay, we'll say it's a friend for 22 years. That's better than an enemy, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, we'll consider it a friend.
Pancreatic cancer. All right. Well, today you have a very unique story. Every time I think, well, we've run out of all the stories to talk about this here, and you've come up with one that I've never heard of. That's why I emphasize the word how all the people around the patient are dealing with it, not just the patient, but the family. And today we're going to talk about how kids deal with it. Yeah,
and it's very important because we don't a lot of times stop and think about that, what the children are going through with their parents being sick. I mean, I had one in college and a young one, in high school. So what they go through is very different. But we have somebody here, two people here we're very happy to have, Ariya Selvakumar and Haley Kamola. I'm sorry. Our students at Chapman University, and they're here to tell us about Kesem. Kesem is a national-wide community dedicated to supporting children through and beyond a parent's cancer. I'm really happy to have you both here. I'm glad to have met you. We met at Orange County's Purple Stride, PanCan's Purple Stride, and I didn't know that you guys even existed. So I'm really happy that you reached out to us and came to Purple Stride and agreed to come here and talk, because I think this is something very, very important that we need to look at how cancer does affect children. So I don't know who wants to go first, but if you want to tell us what Kesem is exactly.
Yeah, for sure. So Kesem is a national nonprofit, and we are specifically geared towards supporting children through and beyond a parent's cancer. So Kesem nationally has about over 120 college campuses who are serving as different chapters for the organization. In each college or university that has a chapter with Kesem is basically supporting the communities that surround them. So, for example, we are from the Kesem at Chapman University chapter, and we are supporting the families of Orange County who either have a parent who have had cancer or currently have cancer, and specifically their children.
And how do you support them?
Yeah, so we have tons of year-long services, but our flagship annual summer camp is definitely the one that we're most known for. It's basically a week-long, zero cost to the families sleepaway camp for their children, and we all go to camp every year. Sometimes it's at different campsites. This year our camp will be in a little campsite in San Juan Capistrano. And basically, we do a bunch of fun activities. We allow the kids to really connect with the community who gets it, and a community who understands the experiences that they've been through, unlike how maybe their classmates in school might not understand what having a parent with cancer is like. So we give them a chance to just let loose and be kids and not have to constantly be thinking about that cancer diagnosis. But then we also give them a space where they can talk about it and they can share what it's been like for them without feeling like they'll be judged for it, or that they'll be put in this category or label of having a parent with cancer.
What inspired this? What got this started? I mean, you said, how long have they been around?
I believe Kesem nationally started in the year 2000, I believe. But it started at Stanford, and just since then, chapters have popped up all over the country. But Kesem at Chapman specifically started in 2017 and had their first year of camp in 2018. So I'm not sure exactly why it was started. Well, we know why it was started, but just to fill where there was a gap, people saw that there were children who were impacted by their parents' cancer diagnosis and didn't really have a space for them or a place to go or a place to talk about it or meet other people like them. So they filled that.
Can I ask a quick question here? I'll butt in occasionally here. Do you two have cancer in your family? What brought you to this idea?
Yeah, so for me, my mom had cancer, and she had Hodgkin's lymphoma just growing up. She had it before I was born, but I still saw how it affected her as I was growing up. I mean, even once you're in remission, it never, goes away. I saw how it affected us, our whole life, and cancer scares that she had throughout my childhood. And I didn't go to Kesem as a kid, but I was certainly impacted by it. And then I heard about Kesem from a family friend right before I started in college, and was like, this is really beautiful. But also my family friend told me about it because he knew that I really liked being a summer camp counselor, and was like, I think you'd really enjoy this. And I enjoy it because I just love getting to know the campers. I mean, we serve the same group of campers every year and year round, and they're just so sweet and so resilient and strong. But also, the counselors are just such a, like, fun group of people. It's, like, the most genuine people I've met at Chapman. It's my favorite community at Chapman, for sure.
Yeah, similarly, coming into college, I really wanted to find that community and that, like, niche group of people that I could really be myself around, and that was Kesem. Immediately when I found it, it was just like this really weird, cool, crazy group of people that were all just so driven by this cause. I also really enjoy working with children. I have experience teaching and being a summer camp counselor, so that really connected with me as well. I do not have a parent with cancer, but as I was getting more involved, I was like, why does this cause feel so important to me? And I think it might be tied to the reason that my uncle did have cancer, and I got to see my little cousin go through that. And I think I connected her a little bit to the kids that we're serving. And so I think that kind of brought the why to me a little bit more. But it's definitely always been about the community over all else for me. I've really just like found my people with Kesem. It's been great.
Yeah, because when I did a little research on both of you, and if your LinkedIn is correct, then I was kind of surprised because there's like no mention really of anything that would kind of tie you into doing something like this. So it's always wonderful when we find somebody who really doesn't have that connection, who still wants to give to the community. Was that basically just your thought? You just wanted to do something, and this seemed like a good fit for the both of you?
Pretty much. Yeah, like I said, well, my freshman year was online, so I didn't really get to make a lot of friends. I didn't really get to join a lot of clubs or student organizations at Chapman. I wasn't even on campus. I was all the way in Houston, just taking classes in California online. And so then coming in sophomore year, I just needed to find that community. And someone approached me at an involvement fair and was like, hey, do you like working with kids? And I was like, yeah, I actually do. And so that's how I found it. And then the cause just made me want to stay all the more. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely my mom's cancer diagnosis has affected me, but it wasn't something that I was like thinking about as I was going into college, but it was more so just hearing about it from a family friend. He has a son who is too young to be going to Kesem camps yet. I mean, the campers that we have are ages 6 through 18, and I think his son is about like 4 or 5. But he was also somebody who had gone through cancer, and he was a big supporter of the chapter over at USC, because that's just the one closest to him, and was like, hey, I think you'd really enjoy this because you love being a summer camp counselor, but also because you have that connection to cancer.
What are some of the key programs and services offered to the children and the families affected by cancer?
So we have a number of year-long programs like I was talking about. I can go into a little bit more detail about
Please.
those. Yeah. We have a Friends and Family Day that we put on, one in the fall, one in the spring. It's kind of like a mini day of camp, either for families who might not feel comfortable sending their kids to camp yet, or who just want to meet us and meet the counselors who are going to be looking over their kids at camp. We get it. It can be weird sending your kid with a bunch of college students for a week over the summer at a sleepaway camp. But we want to assure the families that we are 100% capable. We also have like designated nurses and mental health professional and adults from Kesem Nationals who come down and help us run the camp that week. But anyways, at those Friends and Family Days, it's like a day at a park where we do tons of camp activities, and we really just try and engage the kids and allow them to meet and make friends with other kids who have been through their situation, who they might see again at camp later that summer. And then some other services we have, we send all of the children in our program birthday cards. If they are struggling with something, whether they personally, the child is, or whether their parent is currently, if they're going through a relatively hard stretch as a family, then we try and send care packages. Sometimes we do home visits. In the past, obviously, we love to support the kids in any way possible, but this isn't our favorite way to support given the circumstances. But we have visited memorial services and funerals for parents before, just to support the kids in any way that we can, and we can be there for them because we feel like they truly feel and connected to that community and really bond with their counselors. So they like to see us showing up for them throughout the year, not just at camp.
And do you have like counselors? Do they go to the camp with you as well? And do they have like sessions for the kids, or is it more one-on-one, or how do they work that if they need to talk? Is it one-on-one, or do they sit down like at a support group?
Yeah, so we have our group of counselors, which are also usually on our exec board, and if a camper tends to like particularly connect with a counselor, then they can talk with that counselor. They can also talk to our mental health professional, which is a therapist that we bring to all of our camp sessions. We have one day at camp where, for some campers, the reason they come to Kesem is to get away from hearing about cancer, talking about cancer, but for other people, they find it really empowering to be able to talk about it, especially with, adults and with other campers who have gone through similar things. So we have a program called Empowerment, which is the time and day where everyone knows that we're really going to talk about cancer, and for some people who are, not really wanting to hear about it, they can step out if they would like, but that is the time where every camper gets to talk about their cancer experiences if they want. We always say challenge by choice, so what we'll do is we'll pass around this stuffed animal of Carl, who's our mascot, this little caterpillar Carl, and we pass around a Carl stuffed animal, and the person who's holding it gets to talk, and then they can share if they would like, but if they don't feel comfortable, they don't have to. But usually after that, the campers tend to open up a little bit more, either there or later in the day, like one-on-one to a counselor, or just like smaller in their cabin groups.
That's kind of cool. I like the caterpillar idea because, when they're holding something like that, I think it makes it easier and more comfortable to talk because they're actually probably, maybe hugging it or it's, I don't know, it's like a little support for them. So I don't know who came up with that idea, but that's really a great idea to do something like that.
Yeah.
Now, at the camp itself, what activities do you guys provide, or what does their day look like?
So it really depends on the year. Basically, how it works is that within our Kesem chapter, we have a coordinator board. So it's a board of about 14 to 16 students who are all doing different roles to help our chapter function throughout the year. So we have fundraising coordinators, we have directors, we have outreach coordinators who are focused on like those parent and family communications, and then we also have one of our other, among others of our coordinators are our operations leads, and they basically are in charge of planning camp. And so they work with our supervisor at Kesem Nationals to put together a full camp schedule full of fun activities, activities to really engage the students, engage our teen leadership program, which is our group of older campers, and then also figure out where we want to place key Kesem activities like empowerment or messy games, which are just like fun activities where kids can get messy and we throw around color powder and paint. One of the activities we do right after empowerment is we throw paint at this giant banner that says "Cancer Sucks." That's a tradition that our chapter has had, I think, since the beginning of our chapter's establishment. And we do other games like Gaga Ball and lots of like theater games. I'm a theater major, so that's all right up my alley. We do stuff like a talent show. It's just a bunch of kind of those traditional, what you'd think of as like summer camp activities, along with whatever our operations coordinators have in mind for that year.
Yeah, I know the photo you sent me, which made me laugh because it looked like a lot of fun. Was that one of the paint things that you guys did? And anybody, you can go to Facebook and see it, or on Instagram. But it's really a cute little picture with a lot of color in there. Was that one of the paint ones that you did?
Yeah, that was right after empowerment when we all were throwing paint at the Cancer Sucks banner. And then that always turns into like a little paint fiesta.
Paint war.
Yeah, paint war. And it's just a lot of fun. It's so great to see the kids really let loose and like kind of come out of their shells, because that usually happens at around the middle of camp, so the middle of our week. And then either the next night or the night after that, we usually have some sort of talent show, and you can just see like the kids planning their acts together. And across camp, you'll have like some people from our oldest cabin working with our youngest campers, which we range from age 6 to 18, so it's quite a wide age range, but they're all like coming together to make these super fun and just great little talent show acts. And yeah, we just have tons of fun activities like that throughout the week.
Are that you mentioned the age group? Are they mixed together? Are they separated by age, or do you kind of mix them together?
Yeah, they're separated by age. So we have our youngest unit, which we call our purple unit, which is about like ages 6 to 10. Our middle school unit, which is our orange unit, which is like 11 to 14. And then our teen leadership program. So these are our oldest campers, and they are getting a little bit more leadership skills, opportunities to help plan and lead events, because some of them will go on to become counselors once they go to college. And that's about ages like 15 through 18. And then also on our counselor team this year, we do have 2 former campers, which is pretty sweet. But yeah, they're going to be separated by their ages. Yeah.
You mentioned, I think Paul has a question. I'll let him ask.
How many kids and what's the cost?
Cost?
Somebody tweeted in, what's the cost, if any, and how many kids participate?
So it is at complete zero cost, absolutely free to our families. In fact, we even help provide transportation if families need help with that to the campsite. If you need help with supplies, we try and provide those. We just want this to be at like minimal to negative stress to the families. We want this to just be a resource that they can take advantage of.
Mm-hmm.
And then what was the other question?
How many kids typically?
So it varies per year. This year we have a goal of 50 campers, I believe. And right now we're at about 40. So we're still recruiting. And in the past we've had, I think last year we had about like 55 families originally sign up. And then I think we ended up having it about 50 as well. So it's recently been around that range, but we are like a growing chapter. Other chapters around the country have much larger groups and much smaller groups. It really varies.
Well, get ready to expand, because Roberta's network, you're going to suddenly double it, I'm sure. Here.
Oh, we're so excited.
Let's hope so. But how do they find out about you? How do the families find out and know how to contact you?
So that's a big role of the outreach position that I was talking about earlier. So our outreach coordinators are usually 2 to 3 individuals, student leaders, who go to farmers markets. They go to hospitals. They talk to social workers. They go to events like PanCan, and they basically are just focused on recruiting families, telling people what the mission of Kesem is, and then they are also in charge of communicating with those families after that and setting up orientation calls and doing all of that. So it's all through our student leadership and our own outreach initiatives.
Do doctors ever get involved and refer patients or the families to you, or do you approach physicians and ask them for any information?
Yeah, for sure. We drop off a lot of flyers at doctors' offices, and especially like offices focusing on cancer patients, obviously. And then a lot of those flyers get distributed to patients, and that's how a lot of our families find us, actually.
Yeah, because like I said, it sounds like a wonderful opportunity, and it's something that I had heard about years and years ago, but nothing since. So again, like I said, I was really happy that you guys found us and reached out. Excuse me. What unique challenges do children face with having a parent going through cancer?
Oh, so many. I think a lot of our campers talk about how they feel so isolated after their parent is diagnosed or after their parent passes away, because their friends in school and their classmates don't really know how to talk about it. And either their friends at school might ask like invasive questions, or just not say anything at all and pretend that nothing is happening, just because other kids aren't trained to know what's going on. It's a tough situation when your friend's parent has cancer, when your friend's parent passes away. So, even though it's not necessarily the other kids' faults, Kesem is a space for these campers to meet kids who are going through similar things, or like kids at different stages in life and parents with different stages of diagnoses. So it could be really helpful for, a 13-year-old to talk to like a 15-year-old or 16-year-old who has maybe been going through this for a few more years and saying like, how do I go to high school and make friends, just like knowing this is happening to me. So it's just a really great network for them to be able to like be a little bit less alone. Our campers will absolutely become friends with each other after camp. I know some of them will like find each other on social media or like start group chats and stuff like that. But one of the other challenges that some campers face is that they have to become the parent a little bit. Sometimes they have to step up, especially if they have older siblings. So Kesem just gives them a space where they can just be a kid. They can just go to summer camp and have fun and not have to worry about any of the challenges that they're facing at home.
Yeah, I know even as an adult, wanting to get away from it, like you said, you weren't, the kids aren't forced to talk about it if they don't want to. They go to the camp to forget. I think a lot of times as adults, I know I myself, or even my husband, you go to work because that's the one place you don't have to deal with it or think about it. So to have a camp where these kids can go to, it is, like I said, very unique and something I really hope really takes over, because I think it's important. Paul has another question.
I just want to point out, I went to their website here, which is kesem.org. Kesem. I wanted to say
Yes.
Kesem. Kesem. I think we misspelled it on the initial header here. Kesem. Anyway, it says under their mission, 5 million children currently at risk of experiencing increased anxiety, emotional isolation, loss of social interest, and or feelings of hopelessness. Talk about any of those things. You've talked about those in the past year, but we never think of the kids trying to go through this. The focus is on the patient and not necessarily finds its way all the way down to the kids of feeling hopeless. Mom's dying, dad's sick, something here. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, when you're a child, for a lot of children, your parents are your pillars. They're the strongest and center of your world. So it can really like move you in a way when that pillar is suddenly very different, and very different in their demeanor, but also different in the way that they're able to take care of you. And it can be really difficult, obviously. And so we are all about allowing them to feel supported by us, but also by their fellow campers, which is what happens at camp. We get to see these campers taking care of each other and really bonding as if they were siblings, or if they were best friends and they've known each other all their life, even if it's only been 2 or 3 days. It's really, really magical to see. Also, I believe, I could be wrong about this, but I believe the statistic is about like 1 in 15 children is affected by a parent's cancer. And so we are the organization that is there for that 1 in 15. And not a lot of other organizations are doing this work, especially with that niche demographic of people.
Yeah, I know. Just so people understand that, normally we were talking on Living Hope about pancreatic cancer. This camp is open to all cancers, yes?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have any that you know of children that are dealing with a parent with pancreatic cancer?
I'm not sure. I know we have the information. I just haven't looked in particular for pancreatic cancer.
Yeah, I was just curious if there's any difference, if they go through anything any different than another child might go through with, like I said, general
well,
cancer.
because pancreatic cancer happens, so if people don't survive, it happens quickly. You've talked about it. They don't survive long. Some cancers you live with. My dad had leukemia for 20 years. So maybe we got to deal with it longer and understood it better.
Yeah, I'm sure you guys have talked about this before, but there are so many different diseases under the name of cancer, so they're all different and all affect each family differently. But yeah.
Any stories you can come up with? I mean, you don't have to name the kid, obviously, but any story that struck you in your time there, stood out?
This happened fairly recently, actually, and it wasn't even at camp specifically, but one of the campers who has been in my cabin. I've been a cabin counselor for 2 years. I've spent 2 summers with Kesem. And so one of the campers in my cabin, I feel like I've really bonded with my cabin of girls. And one of them, I was doing her orientation call this year, actually. And she was asking me, she told me that she got into Chapman University and she's coming next year. And she wants information about when our general body meetings are and how she can apply to be a coordinator and then a counselor. And just seeing how much excitement she had for the community and how much drive she had to be a part of it now that she's no longer a camper and wants to become a counselor. It really just made my week. I was so proud and happy to see her have been through camp for so many years. I think this will be her last summer at camp. And in the fall, she can be a part of Kesem and she can be a part of pushing that joy and we call it Kesem love and magic, or clam, pushing that clam to other children who have been in her shoes. And seeing that experience among a lot of the kids that we serve is just, it makes my year. It's the best thing ever.
As far as volunteering, how many volunteers do you have, and how many hours do most volunteers put in, or is there a set amount of hours that you would like them to put in?
So our coordinator board, which is like our executive board, I think Ariya said this earlier, but it's about around 15 people. And beyond that, we have our general body, which is like the club meetings. So people can choose to get as involved as they want. We always invite all of our general body members to everything. So we invite them to PanCan, or we also go to Making Strides Against Breast Cancer in October, or when we're doing tabling at a farmer's market, or events at like at the Chapman's Piazza is like their center that they call it, where clubs will put out their tables and their booths. So we always invite them to everything, but there's no requirement of hours at all. And then as for our coordinator board, it just depends. Obviously, like being director is going to have a lot more responsibility than some of the other roles, but I think like outreach, which is the one that's in communication with our campers and our camper families, is another one that's a pretty big one. Versus one that might take like a little bit less work is our alumni marketing and PR, which does she owns our Instagram, and we love her. She does amazing work, but yeah, it's like just a different amount of hours.
And you two are the co-directors, right?
Yes.
Of the current, whatever, you'd serve for a year in that role or something?
Yeah, so it's based on like the Kesem fiscal year, which starts kind of with our school year, but goes throughout the summer. So technically we started as directors last summer, and we will be directors until this coming August.
Are there any eligibility requirements for the children to attend camp?
I don't believe so. Just
the age?
Be impacted by a parent's cancer, which you can't really measure in any way. And then, yeah, ages 6 to 18. So they'll fill out an application and then get, approved or denied. But I've never seen someone be
kids excited to go? You think that's a moment away to talk to kids that are going through the same experience? Or are they hesitant and you have to get them to open up? And my parents were all trying to get me to go to camp, and I was always, I don't know, I'm going to meet a bunch of strangers and bond with them. I don't know. I was afraid of it. So.
Yeah, I think it definitely depends on the kid. For the most part, a lot of our returning campers are really, really excited to go back every year and see their friends from the previous summer or see a counselor that they once had. And then a lot of our newer campers are naturally a little bit more hesitant, but we really encourage them to come to those friends and family days throughout the year and meet the counselors and meet other kids who are going to be at camp so that they can feel a little bit more drawn into the community. Yeah, so we have like all of those measures in place to kind of make them feel more comfortable. And then obviously we are in we have a lot of communication with the camper families, and we also allow the campers themselves to talk to us over the phone or talk to their future counselor over the phone if they feel like that would make them more comfortable.
Do they kind of get the same counselor every time, or how does that work? You say
counselors are divided by the age groups, and obviously we are college students, so some of us might not be at Chapman and be a student leader with Kesem for the entire time that a camper will be attending camp, because it is ages 6 through 18. So they are not necessarily with the same counselor every year, but a lot of the time they will see a counselor they had last year at next year's summer or the summer after that, or for like a couple of years of overlap. So they're able to kind of make those bonds, and then there's some overlap where they can meet new college and student leaders and make those bonds with new counselors.
Yeah, for counselors who have graduated, we have this thing called Visitors Day, where our alumni can come back and then say hi to their old campers and then the other student leaders, and I know that's a lot of fun.
I know, speaking with some parents, they had, when their children, were faced with this, they didn't want to leave their parent because they were afraid something would happen while they were gone. Have you seen that, or how do you help them deal with that? Yeah,
that does happen sometimes with our younger campers who are a little bit scared for their parents, especially for parents who are currently going through a diagnosis. I think what helps a lot of campers who have those types of feelings is talking to other people there who, again, going through the same thing, because it's a little bit more than just being homesick. It's a special type of fear. But being at camp with other campers whose parents might also be going through a diagnosis, they can talk to them and share their anxieties together, or maybe help to rationalize those fears a little bit. But I know the thing that also helps campers a lot is they're almost always going to be there with their siblings if they have siblings. So even if they are in different cabins, different units, if one is a little bit older or a little bit younger, they can still see them during activities or during lunch and say hey, I don't know, just check in and talk to them. Yeah.
And is there any kind of special training that your volunteers go through?
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, totally. So we have volunteer coordinators, who are our coordinators in charge of recruiting counselors and then also recruiting our general body members. But especially for counselors, we have tons of training that is passed down from Kesem Nationals, which is the national nonprofit. So we have weeks of in-person trainings where our counselors, our future counselors, are going to training meetings with our volunteer coordinators, and they're showing them the slides and all the information that Kesem Nationals wants us to teach to our volunteers. And then we also have something called EOTs, which are expert online trainings. And those are all put together by Kesem Nationals and by the EOT company that they work with to train people to work with children in summer camp environments. So they run through tons of different scenarios. They give us like all the basic training. We also are always looking for counselors who are CPR certified, lifeguard certified, and stuff like that. Usually we have a lifeguard at camp. But yeah, we have those trainings. And then, like I said, we sometimes have, or we always have some sort of Kesem Nationals representative serve our chapter for that week of camp and come down. This year we have 2 camp advisors who are coming down to be at camp with us over the week. And they are always a point of contact for all of our counselors to go to if they have questions during that week and if we need extra support. So yeah, we have tons of support, especially regimented by Kesem Nationals.
If somebody at Chapman University is interested in volunteering, how do they do that?
Yeah, they can just go to our Instagram, which is Kesem @Chapman, and shoot us a DM and say, hey, I'd love to be a counselor, or I'd love to come to a general body meeting. And they're always welcome to. We post our meeting times. I mean, we're in the summer right now, but when we're in the school year, we post our meeting times in the room so someone can always show up. Chapman also does something called Involvement Fair, where all the clubs will put out a table and people can come up to us and get on our mailing list or say like, hey, I want to come to a meeting. When's your next meeting? And we'll let them know.
Oh, that's great. And I really appreciate both of you coming down and talking to us. And just real quick, for like, how do you get donations, or do you need donations, or how do people donate to you?
Yeah, so I think the easiest way to find our page would also be through that Instagram. So @Kesem @Chapman on Instagram. We use Classy page, and we are still collecting donations. We're still trying to reach our fundraising goal this year of $60,000. We're a little ways off, so we would really appreciate any donations. They all go to Kesem Nationals and to our specific community around Orange County.
Mm-hmm. And just real quick, when does the next summer camp start?
This year, camp will be July 7th through 12th. And it is at a campsite in San Juan Capistrano. But if you need any help with transportation, we can do that. We just encourage all families interested to please apply, and then we can consider any requests that you need for support.
Yeah, you can apply through. You can apply at the website kesem.org.
Well, thank you both for coming, and we'll share this information with as well on our website and on our Facebook and social media. So thank you both for being here. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
As long as you speak my name, I Shall Live Forever is dedicated today to Kathy Hess. Thank you, ladies.
Wow. Well, if you're looking for some hope, there's some living hope. One more reason to tune in each and every time and join us on this journey. And if there's someplace that you're looking to send your kids this summer, what a better thought than this. Or if you need somebody right now to talk to you about what you're going through, lots of organizations can help. Let's give you the one that we tag the most often here, PanCan. Patient Services is 877-2 PANCAN for the Pancreatic Cancer Action Network. For the OC Talk Radio Network, I'm Paul Roberts, thanking you for joining and hoping you'll share this hope with someone else today here, and hoping we'll see you back here again next time as we stream live from our studios here at the University of California, Irvine's Beale Applied Innovation Center.